The first time my parents betrayed me wasn't when they stole from me. It was the moment they decided my hard work belonged to my younger brother. My name is Claire Donovan. I was 38 years old and owned a successful commercial fire protection company in Raleigh, North Carolina. 11 years earlier, I'd started the business with one used service van, 2 technicians, and more determination than money. By the time this story began, we employed 32 people, maintained contracts across 2 states, and had earned a reputation for never cutting corners. To my clients, I was a dependable business owner. To my parents, I was simply the responsible daughter. My younger brother, Ryan Donovan, was 4 years younger and the complete opposite. He bounced from one real estate venture to another, always convinced the next deal would make him rich. Every failure was explained away as bad timing. Every risky idea was praised by my mother as visionary. When I asked my parents years earlier for an $18,000 loan to buy another service truck, they refused. "It's too risky," Dad had said. 2 years later, they happily handed Ryan $55,000 for his first property investment. "He's following his dreams," Mom told me. That became the family rule. Ryan's debts were temporary. My savings were available. Whenever one of his projects collapsed, everyone looked toward me as if I were the emergency fund. I stopped arguing because nothing ever changed. Instead, I focused on growing my company. Few people knew how much sacrifice it had taken. I worked weekends, answered emergency calls at 2 in the morning, and spent years delaying vacations so my employees would never miss payroll. Eventually, those sacrifices paid off. I had quietly saved $242,000 in a personal account. That money wasn't sitting there waiting to be spent. Every dollar already had a purpose. I had finally found the perfect warehouse to purchase for my company. The building would give us room to expand, hire more technicians, and eliminate expensive rental costs. Closing was only weeks away. Then Ryan announced his newest dream. He wanted to transform an abandoned textile warehouse into an upscale members-only business club with restaurants, offices, event space, and luxury lounges. It sounded impressive. The financing didn't. He needed nearly $200,000 to close the deal. He only had a fraction of that amount. I never imagined my parents would decide the rest should come from me, especially without asking, because years earlier, after a serious car accident, I had signed one document that I barely remembered anymore: a durable financial power of attorney. I trusted my parents completely when I signed it. I had no idea they still had it, or that they were about to use it against me. The document had been signed 5 years earlier. I had been recovering from emergency spinal surgery after a highway accident left me unable to work for weeks. My attorney insisted I appoint someone who could manage my financial affairs if complications arose. Without hesitation, I chose my parents. At the time, it felt like the safest decision I could make. The power of attorney allowed them to speak with my bank, pay bills, and manage my finances only if it benefited me. It was never intended to finance Ryan's business ventures or hand him access to my accounts. After I recovered, life became busy again. The paperwork disappeared into a filing cabinet. I forgot it existed. Unfortunately, my parents didn't. One Tuesday afternoon, I was leaving a routine inspection at a medical center when my phone buzzed. A new trusted device has been added to your online banking profile. I frowned. I hadn't bought a new phone. Before I could process the alert, another notification appeared. External transfer recipient added, Blackstone Club Holdings LLC. My stomach tightened. I had never heard of the company. I immediately called my bank. After verifying my identity, the branch manager spoke carefully. Ms. Donovan, your mother activated a durable financial power of attorney this morning. She created an authorized agent profile on your account. I stopped walking. My mother did what? The manager continued. Using that profile, someone logged in from a new device, linked an outside business account, and scheduled a transfer. How much? There was a long pause. $204,000. For a second, I couldn't breathe. That wasn't spare money. That was my company's future. I drove straight to the bank. By the time I arrived, my attorney, Melissa Carter, had already prepared emergency paperwork. Within minutes, we revoked the power of attorney, froze every electronic transfer, disabled the newly authorized device, and ordered the bank to preserve every login record, IP address, verification code, and account activity. The transfer had not yet been approved. We had beaten it by less than an hour. Then the branch manager showed me another document. It was a capital contribution letter submitted to Ryan's private lender. According to the paperwork, I had agreed to invest $204,000 into his luxury club project. My signature appeared neatly at the bottom. Except, I had never signed it. Melissa examined the page for less than 30 seconds. They copied your signature from another document, she said quietly. My heart sank. This wasn't just unauthorized access anymore. Someone had forged my signature to secure a multi-million-dollar loan. Melissa looked directly at me. Don't call your parents. I stared at her. Let them think their plan is working. She smiled slightly. People reveal far more when they believe they've already won. That evening, Mom sent a cheerful text. Dinner tonight. We're celebrating Ryan's closing. I looked at the forged signature, the revoked power of attorney, and the bank's fraud report spread across my kitchen table. Then I printed every single page. If they wanted a celebration, I was more than happy to attend. My parents' dining room looked exactly as it had every Christmas, birthday, and anniversary for the past 20 years. The polished oak table gleamed beneath the chandelier. Mom had opened a bottle of champagne before I even arrived. Dad was already smiling, while Ryan sat confidently at the head of the table with a leather portfolio beside his plate. He looked like a man who believed he had already become a millionaire. Perfect timing, Mom said warmly. Tomorrow Ryan officially closes on Blackstone Club. Dad lifted his glass. To new beginnings. Everyone drank except me. I quietly took my seat. Ryan leaned back with a grin. Honestly, Claire, I appreciate you believing in me. I raised an eyebrow. I don't remember saying I believed in you. Mom sighed impatiently. Don't start this tonight. We already explained everything. What? She folded her hands calmly. We used the power of attorney to give Ryan access to your savings. It's only temporary. You'll get every penny back after refinancing. Dad nodded. With interest. Ryan smiled wider. And you'll own a small percentage of the business. I looked directly at him. What percentage? His confidence faltered. We haven't finalized that. What interest rate? Silence. Mom frowned. This is exactly why we handled it ourselves. You always overthink opportunities. I slowly reached for my glass of water. Then I looked at Ryan. Go ahead, he frowned. What? Open my account. His grin returned instantly. Confidently, he unlocked his phone, logged into the banking app, and turned the screen toward us. Then his smile disappeared. He refreshed the page once, twice, 3 times, balance. $0, oh, 0. What? He whispered. He refreshed again. Still 0. Mom grabbed the phone from his hands. That can't be right. Dad stared at me. Claire, where's the money? Without saying a word, I reached into my folder and placed one document in the center of the table, revocation of durable power of attorney. I revoked it this afternoon, I said calmly. You gave Ryan access to my account. You just didn't realize I'd already moved every dollar. Ryan shot to his feet so quickly, his chair crashed backward. My closing is tomorrow. A project that depends on stealing someone else's money, I replied evenly, was never financially secure. Mom's face flushed with anger. We were protecting the family. No, I said. You were protecting Ryan. Dad slammed his hand on the table. You've destroyed your brother's future. I calmly pulled out a second folder. I haven't even started. I slid another document across the table. Ryan glanced down. The color drained from his face. It was the capital contribution letter submitted to his lender. Beside it, I placed the original version obtained from the bank. The difference was impossible to miss. One contained my mother's legal signature as attorney-in-fact. The other had been altered. My mother's signature had disappeared. In its place was my copied signature. I looked directly at Ryan. I never signed that letter. The room fell completely silent. Then I asked the one question no one wanted to answer. Ryan, who forged my signature? Ryan couldn't answer. He kept staring at the 2 documents lying side by side, as though they might somehow become identical if he waited long enough. Dad finally broke the silence. Ryan, his voice was barely above a whisper, did you change this document? Ryan swallowed hard. The lender wanted confirmation, he muttered. That wasn't my question. I only cleaned it up. You forged my signature, I said. He looked at me with desperation instead of guilt. I knew you'd never agree. And you thought that gave you the right to pretend I already had? No one spoke. Even Mom looked shaken now. She reached for the original letter, comparing it with the altered version. I signed this as your attorney, she whispered. Ryan nodded without looking up. I removed that part. Mom stared at him. You, what? The lender wanted it signed by Claire herself. So you stole my signature from another contract. Ryan remained silent. That silence answered everything. I slid one final document across the table. It was a letter from Melissa, confirming she had already contacted Ryan's lender. I informed them this afternoon that I never agreed to invest in Blackstone Club, I said calmly. I also told them my bank statement was used without my permission, and that the capital contribution letter contained a forged signature. Ryan's face turned pale. You called them? I corrected a lie. His hands began to shake. My closing isn't happening. Dad slowly lowered himself into his chair. What does this mean? It means the lender has withdrawn its financing. The seller keeps the earnest deposit. And every document Ryan submitted is now under review. Mom looked horrified. The $40,000 is gone. Ryan buried his face in his hands. Years of pretending to be a brilliant entrepreneur had collapsed in a single evening. But I wasn't finished. I've also permanently revoked your access to my finances, I said, looking at my parents. My attorney is now my financial agent. My company's CFO handles business continuity. My bank has every login record, verification code, and account activity preserved. No one in this family will ever access another dollar that belongs to me. Mom's eyes filled with tears. You've destroyed this family. I stood and picked up my folder. No. You destroyed it the moment you decided my permission didn't matter. I walked toward the front door. Behind me, no one tried to stop me. 3 weeks later, I signed the closing papers on the new headquarters for my company. The same money my family called user savings became the equity that secured our future. We expanded operations, hired 7 new technicians, and doubled our service capacity within a year. Ryan eventually accepted a salaried job at a property management company. My parents spent years repaying the home equity loan they had taken out to support his failed project. Dad later sent me a handwritten apology. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Mom never fully admitted she had been wrong. She insisted she had only wanted to help her son. Maybe she believed that. But good intentions never require secret passwords, forged signatures, or stolen money. I never sought revenge. I simply refused to let betrayal become another family tradition. Some people think being responsible means sacrificing everything for the people you love. I learned something different. Real responsibility begins with protecting what you've worked your entire life to build, and understanding that even family must earn your trust, not inherit it.